Welcome to Joy News at 6. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM and Hits 103.9 FM in Accra. In Kumasi, we are on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Jubilee and Sun City Radio's Keta Saboba FM Saboba and A1 Radio Bolgatanga. Get radio, TV and online content on the myjoyonline.com interactive app for Android and iOS devices. Coming up, Occupy Julorbi House organizers announce series of protests in December if worrying economic conditions persist.
What we know very well is that within December, they create a country where we can't live in it. But they've created restaurants and hotels for their sons and daughters for foreigners to come and enjoy our country that we are suffering in it.
Also, current asset declaration law is a joke. The verdict of former Auditor General Daniel Domlevo as he calls for an improved bill to enhance public accountability.
The law, as it stands at the moment, is a joke. It is not effective. It is not fit for purpose.
In business,
IMF staff begins Ghana's first program review from today, with the country likely to secure $600 million before end of year.
And over 2 million Ghanaians suffer from various degrees of mental illnesses. That's according to the World Health Organization as it intensifies initiatives to tackle the situation.
Why can't we advocate for mental health, considering the numbers I've given you of 2.4 million people? Going forward, we're going to see better mental health services, but it's really all of us.
These are more coming up shortly. Please stay. Now let's start from Julorbi House. Now, organizers of Occupy Julorbi House protests have served notice that they will embark on a series of demonstrations in December during the peak of the Christmas festivities if the current state of affairs does not change. Speaking on the probe, the head of programs at Democracy Hub and the convener of Fix the Country, Benjamin Darko, said government has a duty to make life better for citizens, and anything short of that will be met with protest. We'll hear from him shortly. But first, Maxwell Agbagba with a report on the final day of the 3-day demonstration.
The protesters singing Arise Ghana Youth as they block a car filled with personnel of the Ghana Prison Service. Many influential persons were there to lend support to the protesters. Musician Stoneboy says Ghanaians want to see a change in the current state of affairs.
The motorway with the tolls that have been taken from years. I lost my knee to the accident on a motorway. Yeah, it's a major reason that I can never forget. I walk with a titanium knee replacement in my leg. How can I ever forget that happened to me? And even up to today, people still die off of the motorway. Tires are blasting and all of that. Have we not raised enough revenue to be able to fix the motorway that Kwame Nkrumah built from yesteryears? Yeah. We are tired. We are what? Tired. We are what? Tired. We are what?
As the sun disappeared from the sky, the agitation to protest at the frontage of the Jubilee House became stronger. Community mobilizer for Fix the Country, Olivabaka Vomao, is optimistic that the protest will mark the beginning of a change.
I have found family here, a family born out of adversity, but united by our diversity. We stand here as a reminder that we have built a new coalition of young people, a coalition that understands the value of resilience and a belief in justice.
Convener Oliver Bakavoma will end in that report. Now, head of programs at Democracy Hub and a convener of Fix the Country, Benjamin Darko, says they will pour onto the streets if conditions remain the same.
We've given the government from now till end of November. What we know very well is that within December, they create a country where we can't live in it. But they've created restaurants and hotels for their sons and daughters for foreigners to come and enjoy our country that we are suffering in it. So Dirty December is going to turn into dirty demonstrations if we don't see anything change within Ghana here. So within December, if things do not change, we're going to organize protest after protest every day. It's not going to be something 3 days. We're going to do it throughout the whole of December if we do not see things change.
Benjamin Darko is head of programs at Democracy Hub. Now, former Auditor General Daniel Domelevo has described the current asset declaration law as a joke and not fit for purpose. Domelevo's remarks come as discussions resurfaced about the effectiveness of the law in light of the special prosecutor's investigation into former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapa's stashed millions scandal. Speaking on Newsfile on Saturday, the former Auditor General said the asset declaration law in its current state is not fit for purpose.
The law, as it stands at the moment, is a joke. It is not effective. It is not fit for purpose. If the declaration was properly done and verified, I think some of the claims date as far back as I think 2005 or 2003. Maybe that's when she was in the previous MPP administration. So we could have gone there to see whether those things were declared and properly verified and existed, and it would have helped the investigation and also published. So it would have been a public record. We would have all known that since those days she had these things, and there is nothing new to talk about it.
Mr. Domelevo also called for the bill to be improved to enhance accountability of public officials.
I also would like to suggest at this point in time that we still need to improve upon the assets and liabilities declaration, which is now in the form of a bill yet to go to Parliament. But we should introduce lifestyle audit as a preemptive measure to check or hold public officers accountable when we think their lifestyles are not in sync with their resources or income that are available to them. In that case, we can be sure that we may be able to limit the extent to which public funds can be abused by the public office holders.
Daniel Domelevo is former Auditor General. Now to Ofanko, the Ghana National Fire Service has blamed the collapse of a 3-story building there on Friday's heavy rains that flooded parts of the capital. Occupants of the building narrowly escaped death when they exited the building just 30 minutes before the entire structure collapsed. Assistant Chief Fire Officer Timothy Osafo Efum says a failure to carry out soil testing before putting out the structure could be the main cause of the incident.
What we anticipate is that it was as a result of the heavy rains on Friday. And so what we are thinking is that normally when we are putting up such structures, you need to do what we call soil tests to determine whether where you are putting up the building, the soil can sustain the weight of the building. I'm sure this was not done. And once there was that heavy downpour, the soil became very loose as a result of the rainfall, and therefore one side began to sink.
Now, the World Health Organization says almost 2.4 million Ghanaians could be suffering from various degrees of mental illnesses. The WHO says the situation calls for enhanced cooperation in infrastructure and technical support to revamp Ghana's wobbling mental health care system. Speaking in an interview with Blessed Suga on Foreign Affairs on the Joy News channel, the World Health Organization representative to Ghana, Professor Francis Kasalo, expressed worry about the trend in the country.
So yes, I think going forward, we're going to see better mental health services, but it's really all of us, including the media, that we need to really promote and advocate for these services to improve, just as we have advocated for other services like antenatal services, vaccination. Those services are there. Why can't we advocate for mental health, considering the numbers I've given you of 2.4 million people living with that?
Professor Francis Kasalo is Ghana's representative of the WHO. Now, in a recent report by Business Insider Africa, Ghana has been ranked amongst the top 10 African nations grappling with soaring food inflation rates. Placing fourth on the list, Ghana is facing a significant challenge with a rate of 51.9, following closely behind Zimbabwe, Egypt, and Sierra Leone. In his recent inflation report, the government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna-Enin confirms food inflation keeps soaring.
Both food and non-food perspective, we see an upward trend with food inflation inching up by 0.8 percentage points between June and July 2023.
Well, market women in the Malamata market say the rate at which prices of food keeps increasing is alarming. Listen.
Beans now is 1,500 cedis, which you go for foodstuffs, no one is willing to buy. A sack of pepper is 1,200 cedis, and you don't even know how to sell it now. It's really hard in Ghana.
Economic Professor Eric Osei-Sikpe is asking government and other key stakeholders to deliberate in addressing food inflation in Ghana.
Everyone eats, right? And there's serious supply bottlenecks along the value chain of our food production. And so I am of the view that if we are able to come out of this economic quagmire that we all find ourselves, we need to be deliberate. We need to be targeted and make sure we have big push investments into our food value chain processes.
Professor Eric Osei-Sikpe is an economist, and that's how we end the bulletin. A recap of our top story: Occupy Julorbi House organizers announce series of protests in December if worrying economic conditions persist. I'm Amesi Nyamiche Thompson. Business is next on the Super Morning Show.